Welcome back everyone, it's Rob McFarlane here, and today we're going to be going through Black Swan and how Darren Aronofsky stops you from seeing the truth. Spoiler alert, this episode will absolutely be spoiling quite a few of the story elements to Darren Aronofsky's Black Swan, so I thoroughly recommend you check out the film before watching this. So unlike previous episodes where I've taken a particular scene, actually for this film I wanted to check out techniques that Darren Aronofsky used throughout the film Black Swan to stop us from seeing too clearly what was happening at any given time. He wanted to ensure that the audience were always just as puzzled and as mystified as the lead character was. Now this is a really common technique that a lot of directors use, and that is ensuring that the audience don't know more than the character or the protagonist does. One of the worst things we can do as storytellers, as filmmakers, is allow our audience to guess what is going to happen next. So with that said, Darren Aronofsky has made some brilliant choices and used some incredible techniques to ensure that we are never able to get ahead of our character. Choice number one that has affected the entire feeling of the film, and that is that he shot this film on Super 16mm. What that did is it's given the film a large grain pattern or fingerprint.
Yes, Nina?
So on Super 16mm film, you get a much larger grain pattern than that on 35mm film. The reason for this is that when you blow up 16mm film, the grain is also blown up to a larger size. So what that does is, even though it's organic grain, which looks beautiful, it also means that part of the image always feels like it's moving, like there is life in every surface. And for those of you who have seen Black Swan, you'll probably have recognized that this film is always trying to keep us on our toes with something that might not look right, as we watch the character's journey into her own psychoses, and she can't trust anything she sees. He's also trying to tell us the same thing by using 16mm film. This is such a brilliant creative choice, because instead of ensuring that we can see everything, we start to second guess every shadow and dark corner, because everything is moving all the time. One of the most recurring motifs throughout the film as well is the use of mirrors, and that of multiple mirrors in each sequence. Quite often when we do get to see the psychoses starting to come out from her imagination into her reality is when she's looking in a mirror or is near a mirror.
Evil force is pulling you that you can't escape. That's just like out of your control.
Thanks, Cece. Those are for you from Mr. Leroy.
They're beautiful. Come on, I'm about to burst.
Darren Aronofsky famously called Black Swan a ballet werewolf movie. And there's very good reason for this, because he brings a lot of the tropes and a lot of the ideas from a werewolf film into this film. It is a creature wanting to come out. But he goes further than this. He goes further than just using a little special effect here and there. He also uses sound beautifully. Non-diegetic sound. Just so you know, non-diegetic sound means sound that wasn't produced in the moment. So if I click on a radio and we hear that in the film, that becomes diegetic sound. You hear footsteps as I walk across a hall, a wooden hallway. That is diegetic sound. However, if I place a voiceover in over the top, and that is actually not meant to be in that world, then that becomes non-diegetic sound. And we start to understand later in the film that this sound might actually be in her own head and not just for us, the audience. One of the other brilliant techniques used throughout Black Swan is the use of circular camera movement. And by that, I don't necessarily mean pivoting around a certain point, but moving the camera around the subject. More often than not, that is our protagonist, played by Natalie Portman. She is the center of our attention, but also her own psychosis is the center of the attention for the film. By spinning around her, we don't just get a better perspective on what she's doing in terms of her dance and her routine, but we also are completely disorientated by it. This brings not just disorientation, but a sense of panic. Sometimes we can't see what is around her because she also can't see what is around her.
Not so controlled. Seduce the web. Attack it! Attack it! Come on!
And at the end of the film, when Natalie Portman finally becomes and embodies the Black Swan, she accepts her psychosis or whatever was inside her. The camera settles, is smooth, absolutely organic as it follows her through the back corridors of the theatre. In what I believe to be a beautiful directorial choice, he has the white swan killing the black swan, killing her self-doubt with the very mirror that she'd been seeing the self-doubt in all along.
It's my turn.
Where we ultimately see her overcome her self-doubt in probably one of the most self-destructive ways I've ever seen, but she does it at the end. And through using the metaphor of the Black Swan story itself, the use of mirrors throughout the film, and as well the non-diegetic sound, we have a truly horrifying story of psychological breakdown and quite possibly the imposter syndrome that we all face when we try to reach the top in our fields. If you found today's episode useful, guys, don't forget to hit subscribe, like, and the bell icon. I release episodes on Mondays, which are directing tips and equipment reviews, and on Thursdays, I'll be releasing even more episodes exploring directors' techniques in other films. Don't forget to check some links below to help you up your game on your next film.